Good morning, planet Earth. Good morning to my friends out there, drifting about on that sea of life. It is August the 4th, 2026, and here are your fancy schmancy news style headlines from ZeroHedge.com as of 8:10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. July didn't change the structural bull, it reset it. Citadel Security Chief Strategist says fundamentals matter again, huh? Oil slides as Qatar floats new Iran deal. There's a new deal. We were going to destroy them. In the worst battle ever, the ultimate warrior, the penultimate battle. We are going to wipe out Iran, but then we have a deal. And then we'll wipe them out again. In fact, in the course of this war, we have destroyed Iran several times. And it's amazing when you think about it. Iran is the gift that keeps on giving, like a psyop hooker. The bond salesman in chief has fired the first shot of the capital market war. Yay. Bezos to dump $4 billion in Amazon stock after surge, as Kramer calls sale a buzzkill. Suspected arsonist arrested in Spokane wildfire. Well, gee. When the building is aflame, find some poor folks to blame. One of these markets is wrong. I think they're all wrong. 5 killed in latest Ukrainian drone strike on Moscow. This war in the Ukraine is looking dumber and dumber by the day as well. U.S. core factory orders unexpectedly plunge most in a year. Oh my God, that's terrible. I've read that one several times in the last decade. Bitdeer lands $4.7 billion Norway lease with 16... NVIDIA and Dell-backed Volta. The whole data center thing sounds like a lot of bullshit. Trump admin drafting ban on Chinese optical transceivers to protect data centers from spying. Oh boy. All you need to know about record yen intervention. Yes, the Japanese and the South Koreans are worried. Shit out of luck? 2 dead in outbreak of diarrhea-causing parasite. By the way, we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of the Asian flu. This was a ruble thing. This was a smart guy thing. This was a long-term capital management thing at the end, and an Alan Greenspan event. And one of the first significant bailouts in modern financial history. And a lot of people don't realize that Alan Greenspan, the maestro, he invented that too. He invented that in 1987, 40 years ago almost. You remember that one? Yeah. Anyways. Shit out of luck. 2 dead in outbreak of diarrhea-causing parasite. This is horrible. Futures hit record high as oil tumbles. We're going to reopen the Hormuz. These headlines repeat themselves. SpaceX earnings preview, 5 questions. Caterpillar erupts as quarterly sales top 20 billion. Boy, they got to dig those mass graves. What if big tech was right all along? Oh, I'm sure they are. Saudi Aramco profit soars as CEO warns Hormuz closure could be a reverberating Schrodinger-type black hole. First it's open, then it's closed, then it's open, then it's closed, then it's open, kind of closed. And then out of the Strait of Hormuz comes billions of little cats. They're kind of alive. They're kind of dead. They are zombie cats. Undead cats. Coming from the Strait of Hormuz. All of this makes perfect sense. Global bond market on edge as Japanese yields soar. Creepy smart glasses are creating a privacy problem. Of course they are. Trump says Iran faces decapitation, and this is your news as of August the 4th, 8:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2026, the year of scrobliosis. I saw a headline today. It said 63%. 63% of Americans say they are living paycheck to paycheck, but I gotta be honest with you folks, I don't really make it to the other paycheck. I don't know how I think I make it there. I run out of money in the first 2 weeks, and then I drift on through. I turn off the main thruster. I hope that inertia carries me like a deep space probe, going straight down the hole, just like Saturday night, right? With your lovey-dovey. That's right, 63% of Americans say they are living paycheck to paycheck, but I don't really make it between paychecks. You know, I need friends. Don't you need friends? Sometimes you need friends. I need friends made of glowing hot titanium, and if they hold your hand, it would turn and flash to ash. I wish these kinds of friends were my friends. Friends who could melt people's hands. I grew up in the time of whiskey apes. We ate cat pudding. We wrestled our fears in the hope that some nuke war was near. I wish I had friends who remember those times, those years. We'd throw back some beers and dream of being atomic warlords with 50 hooker wives and 1,000,000 lives. As the stone breaks, these would be cool times and great friends to have. Don't you wish you had some fucking friends? I need to tell you, I love you. I love you. I love your halitosis. I love your diseased liver. I love your broken kidney. I love the fact that you poop blood clots now. You are my honey time franchise style winner. And with my Skinner, I'll harvest the world 'cause you know I love you. I love you. There's this new thing that you may not be aware of I've recently got into. Are you aware of how much of the universe is water? And hydrogen, oxygen, but water. Do you know how much of this planet surface is water? Do you know how much of your body is water? Just water. Did you know how much of your body is water? There's this new thing. It's called water dieting. You rapidly lose weight, and then you die, and that's when the magic kicks in. The pounds melt off. As the worms burn those pounds, you lose a lot of weight. You lose it all. I'm on day 3 of the water diet. I've been trying to stretch it out. I started with 1 day, then 2. This is a 3-day water diet. I've already lost 15 pounds. I'm kind of feeling woozy though. People are telling me the water diet is dangerous. But what do they actually, what do they fucking know? Why has the weight loss industry and other fitness gurus and edgelords been lying about this for so long? They never talk about cutting out water, even though that's most of the weight in everything. They always emphasize having more water. Drink more water. What if the secret to losing weight and gaining muscle mass, relatively speaking, has always been cutting out the water? Once I lose 50 pounds on the water diet, I'll send you pictures. A dude once went for 18 days without water. It's in the Guinness World Book of Records. He lost 53 pounds not drinking water. I will be next year's Beachbody Surprise on the water diet. The eyes will turn to me from the sea and the spray. My juice bomb Seaflow style chemical butt ointments are going to sell out soon. We're going to the moon with water diets and Seaflow. Water diets are challenging. All your friends will say you're crazy. Your family will distance themselves. They might even call the cops on you if you do the water diet. But I promise you, you'll lose a lot of weight, a lot of it, all of it. My doctor said I was mad for doing this water diet. I asked him how much of your body is water, and this shut him up. He froze. He had no response. What I really want to do is focus on my body, and that means drinking no water today, none. None tomorrow, too. My goal over the next few months is to be able to do a whole week without drinking water, and I think I can do it. And then 2 weeks, and then 5. Some experts are coming out opposed to water diets, and this is apostasy. These heretic harlots must be stopped. At all costs, we stop them, even if it means we all get herpes. Check under your chair, as Oprah would say. It's okay. There's herpes. Did you know that water kills thousands of people per year? Big Water doesn't want you to know how poisonous this shit is. The mega floods that hit Appalachia a few years ago looked a lot like Popeye during Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh Trail, if you know, you know. That has water in it too. Sharks live in water. Piranha live in water. Weird diseases that give you diarrhea live in water. Ted Bundy drank a crap ton of water, and Jim Jones literally handed out the Kool-Aid. The big tsunami in 2011, that was water. Do you feel bloated, inflammation? What do you think causes this? What if you knew it was always about water? Full disclosure, water dieting has some risks associated with it. There are many that say you have to have water every single day, but some think this is hydrocentrism and racist. Would it shock you to know all the Nazis drank water every day? Stalin drank water. That's right, there's a lot of prejudice out there when it comes to non-hydrotarians, or rather, dehydrationists. We choose not to hydrate because we know where the weight loss comes from. Stop drinking the water. We have a training camp in the desert coming up soon. It'll be somewhere in Death Valley. And you're going to learn how to live without water, baby. And you'll know the secret was always water. That it was waterlogging you. It was holding you back. Always holding you back. You know what I'm saying? Here's a quote from Dr. Freckles. Thirst is a liar. It is, folks. It tells you to drink water. You shouldn't drink water, okay? You just shouldn't. Long ago, in a land you know, a man named Rudy did his duty, fought in a war, but his wife was a whore. He had a friend named Jody, a rock and roll roadie, always with her, using Rudy's bed. One day Jody shot Rudy in the head. Rudy lay there, cold and limp, but a demon with great care, something from hell, rang Rudy's bell, and you could tell Rudy was gone, gone, gone. So long to Rudy. Mr. Scribbles is here. And from that day the children would say, go away, try to hide deep inside. But the story lied, and Scribbles has arrived. Mr. Scribbles comes in the night. Mr. Scribbles is ready for a fight. Mr. Scribbles walks real slow. Mr. Scribbles knows where you go. Mr. Scribbles with words unsaid, mean from the streets, eating the dead. It's okay, he's unseen, he'll be visiting on Halloween. Mr. Scribbles lives near the sea, along the shore, hard to the core, bittersweet memories of every victim's plea. Mr. Scribbles is 10 feet tall. He'll give you a call on the phone when you're alone, and no one knows the firelight glows long after you are gone. The song dies, the flame lies. You'll be late for the charity ball. Oh, that Mr. Scribbles. Mr. Scribbles, he's always nearby. With a sigh and a curse, he grabs your purse. He steals your phone, and then he's there sitting on your throne. Mr. Scribbles, he has a strange laugh. It's a gaffe, a prank. You think it's okay, but then the sun goes down on your last day. Mr. Scribbles likes to use knives, taken many lives, brought them to the dump like a lump buried in the fill, and still he cries as the world dies, and the flies and the blood, and with a thud the hole is damp. He puts out the lamp, and it's adios, champ. Mr. Scribbles is tired and sad. He wanders the world, flag unfurled, mind broken, just a token of regret. You haven't met yet. Mr. Scribbles is away by dawn, all gone, forever walk. He never talks, he sits, he stalks. And when he waits another week, another month, another year. Rivers of tear flow by. He never dies, he never lives. He only gives one last kiss in an outline made from chalk. Mr. Scribbles came from hell, ringing that bell, that Beelzebub bling, ding, ding, ding. Goes the doorbell, he smiles real nice, he gives great advice. He wants to come in, he'll punish your sins. Mr. Scribbles is here for pain, he's slain. More than a few, left them in the swamp, slowly turning, churning to goo. A slew of freaks, with cheeks red, nowhere to tread, just missed, goodbye, presumed deceased, broke the lease on the house. What a louse, the landlord said. Don't look behind, don't look ahead, don't look for help, hear what I said. He's not afraid, he has no loss, he's the boss of the end. He's a friend to the bat and the rat and the spade. Mr. Scribbles drives a nice van. Mr. Scribbles eats from a can. Mr. Scribbles feels the urge. Mr. Scribbles is going to splurge. Mr. Scribbles grinds his teeth. Mr. Scribbles is hiding beneath Mr. Scribbles eats all day. Mr. Scribbles has the last say. Mr. Scribbles is outside your town. Mr. Scribbles wears a long frown. Mr. Scribbles carries a bat. Mr. Scribbles is gonna eat your cat. Mr. Scribbles had a nice wife. Mr. Scribbles took her life. Mr. Scribbles has one yellow eye. Mr. Scribbles flies through the sky. Mr. Scribbles hides in plain sight. Mr. Scribbles is stronger at night. Mr. Scribbles befriended your mom. Mr. Scribbles is building a bomb. Mr. Scribbles does the bad drugs. Mr. Scribbles has human hair rugs. Mr. Scribbles really loves Spam. Mr. Scribbles did 6 tours in Nam. Mr. Scribbles has blue hair. Mr. Scribbles likes to stare. Mr. Scribbles collects old trash. Mr. Scribbles will turn you to ash. Mr. Scribbles fought a bear. Mr. Scribbles, truth or dare. Mr. Scribbles is always sad. Mr. Scribbles knows you've been bad. Mr. Scribbles makes a racket. Mr. Scribbles has a human skin jacket. Mr. Scribbles does not lie. Mr. Scribbles will never die. Mr. Scribbles camps on the moon. Mr. Scribbles is seeing you soon. So try a prayer to some lame god. Say goodbye to all you trod. Pack your bags. You're leaving Craig. Don't stop running. He's coming now. He's just a little late. Now he's at the front gate. He's inside your room, settling gloom. Your last date, Mr. Scribbles, Mr. Scribbles, Mr. Scribbles, brings your doom. Goodbye, Mr. Scribbles. I'll see you on Halloween. Dan, that Mr. Scribbles sounds like bad news. Well, you'd be right. So the other day, I believe August the 2nd, a man tried to kill a bunch of people at an In-N-Out Burger in Idaho. And another man, Good Samaritan, with a weapon and I guess an off-duty cop, took the person down. And I don't know what to tell you. Do I think it's a true story? It's probably true. It seems like the kind of story that would be difficult to fake. And is it a good or bad story? Well, that depends on your perspective. I think that there's going to be a lot more of this kind of thing where people just lose it. And it goes back to that 63% thing. I think that this has been going on a while, folks. And I've said this for many years, and I've told you there wasn't really much of a recovery, economic recovery, whatever you want to call it, for ordinary people post-2009. I have no doubt that if you lived in a donut, if you lived in healthcare, security, the military, you name it, you made some bank. Yeah, and I'd probably even say the social media did too, although there's a story there. But if you tried to live in a part of the world and the economy that actually built things, that produce things people need, and that maybe even produce things that would last, that world more or less is gone. And a lot of people who lived in that world, worked in that world, they never really recovered economically. That's a simple fact. So when you read a statistic like 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, something you should keep in mind is that this has been going on a while. More than a decade for a lot of these folks. Yeah, what's a recession from a depression? Well, I'll tell you, it's called economic collapse. Next topic. But yeah, this is a good news story in a way too. I'm glad that gentleman helped out and prevented more people from dying. And I suppose you could say this is a good argument for people carrying weapons. And I think good people who know how to use weapons should carry them. I also think that there's a lot of idiots who carry weapons who probably shouldn't. And statistically speaking, it's hard to know what's going to happen every single time that happens, but we'll see in the future because the future is here. The future is here, Mr. Scribbles. Here's a quote from Dr. Freckles: "Attendance is a prison metric." I'll just leave it there. It really is. Attendance is a great metric for prisons and a terrible metric for any place you're trying to educate people. So right now, we got stuff on the menu. And the main items on the menu, it's a lot like COVID. You remember the COVID where the menu allowed you to say, "Oh, Dan, it's a wet market virus. Dan, it's a bioweapon. Dan, it's some sort of mass psychosis formation that just randomly happened." But when you came out and said that it was an organized op and that probably people were killed, needed to be killed to make it real, that it wasn't a pandemic at all, it was a fake one, and that fake ones, given human psychology, are not that hard to pull off. That was not on the menu, and that's what generally got you banned in 2020. I know this from personal experience. Well, today with the Iran conflict, and this applies to the Ukraine conflict as well, what's on the menu is that there are good guys and bad guys. And depending on your perspective, Iran is either the good guy or the bad guy, and vice versa when it comes to the state of Israel and the United States, and you can apply the same thing to the Ukraine and Russia. But when you dig below the surface and all of the absurd rhetoric when it comes to quote-unquote drone warfare, what you find are a lot of things that don't add up. It is never to the advantage of anyone in a conflict to give their enemy time to repair and recoup. I have not received one rational explanation for why the Iranians have not launched ballistic missiles on Tel Aviv more or less since April. It doesn't really add up. All the evidence was showing is that the state of Israel was on the verge of collapse. And if the comeback is, well, Dan, it's because the Israelis have nuclear weapons, that sort of works up to a point, but then why did they launch missiles in the first place? They knew that this was true. It was something they were willing to wager on, accept as a risk. The conflict itself sort of turning on and off, again, kind of reminds me of 2020. To the extent that there was a dial attached to the COVID, there's a dial attached to the Iran war. Now, you're allowed to talk about the Iranians as being the good guys or the bad guys, and the same with America, and you're allowed to treat this like a conflict. But if you come out and say that it looks kind of synthetic and that there's something else going on, that's not really allowed. You guys can think more on this yourself. Next topic. Yeah, so I used to live in Utah, and I lived about 30 miles from the town we're going to talk about. This is an article from KSL.com. Headline: Vernal residents shocked by soaring water prices. Water bills as drought prompts steep rate increases. This is published on July the 29th, not that long ago. And like I said, from KSL, some Vernal residents say they are struggling to afford the dramatically higher water bills. I want to read a quote here. Ashley Valley water drastic. It's not even double or triple. They're elderly, they're on fixed income, blah, blah, blah. We used half as much as last year, and the bill is almost double. We can't afford water. I like this quote. It's choosing between eating food and taking a bath. Well, let's just talk about water for a second. Water is the trick hack to losing a lot of fucking weight. And that's, again, the story isn't talking about it. It's talking about all that water you should be drinking. Yeah, I'm kidding. No, in all seriousness, folks, this is a big deal. And I would love to tell you that it's almost over, right? That, the West Coast has been essentially in a drought. And you really do have to understand it like that. Well, Dan, there was a flash flood. Yeah, flash floods do a lot of things. They don't really repair droughts. They don't replace snowpack that is mostly gone. They don't replace permafrost that existed in the mountains until recently that's almost gone. These flash floods are dramatic, but they don't really offset the debt. They temporarily make it look like the deficit is okay. But because people have been confused about those terms since Bill Clinton, let's just get over it. Most people don't know the difference between debt and deficit. Debt is what you owe. Deficit is your current situation of what you owe. Guess what? You can be, no longer running a deficit and still have a huge debt. That's a situation with the West Coast. There is a massive water debt, and there is no evidence it's going to be paid off anytime soon. But if you want to play pretend that this changes, that's great. If it doesn't change, this situation gets worse for everybody. And it's not just in Utah, it's across the Southwest. And there are lots of these limited hangout things now. Well, Dan, it's because of a deal they made about the Colorado River. Wrong. It's because of blacktop. Wrong. I mean, all of these things are factors, and yet they're not the cause. It's a lot like the Burmese python in Florida. People want to say, well, it's because, people, rednecks, people been weird pirates and captains have been releasing weird animals into the Everglades for hundreds of years. Get over it. That's not the issue here. What's changed is now the Everglades are a place where these creatures can live. That's the difference. That's what you need to focus on. If you focus on the idea that there's a random hobo with a big lighter out there setting fires, random hobos and campers have been setting fires in the woods forever. That is not the significant difference, and yet people want to latch on to that and play pretend. Folks, these forests are tinderboxes. That's the issue. Whether it's a random hobo, a car wreck, a lightning strike, it doesn't really matter. These forests are tinderboxes. It's like whatever garbage they've been spraying, and maybe Dane Wigington's right, maybe it's a lot of aluminum, has been building up in these trees, and they're kind of, they're like thermite candles. They cook off, and they cook off really hot. That's not because of the random hobo. That's because of the shit they're literally spraying in the sky every single day, and all we have to do is look up. And that applies to this drought as well. If you, again, listen to Dane Wigington, he'll tell you that the West Coast and really the western half of the country has been mostly a climate sacrifice zone for a couple decades in order to make it seem like everything's fine on the eastern side of the country. And if you look at, heat maps going back more than a decade, the one randomly cooler spot on the whole planet consistently is the eastern half of the United States. That's weird. But if you know that's where most of the boiling water reactors are, if you know that's where most people live, if you know that that's where the political consensus is, it makes sense. It really does. That's where Washington, D.C. is, folks. And it doesn't mean the system works perfectly. It doesn't. It's probably breaking down. I have no doubt it's breaking down. It's one of the reasons why they have to talk about doing it. Because in their heads, if they talk about doing it, then they can even up the game because people are that confused that they believe it hasn't been happening. Anyways, this water situation is probably not getting better. And yes, I'm kidding about the water diet. Of course I'm kidding. You got to be kidding, right, Dan? I am. I'm totally kidding. Here's a quote from President Trump. And I have to drink a little bit of coffee here. This is from a few days ago, 7/29/26. I'm just going to read it. We're going to beat the fucking shit out of them. Now, again, keep in mind today, what we have today is, Trump, actually, we have a few things. We have Hormuz is going to open, and Trump says Iran faces decapitation if they don't sign a good deal. I think this is some of the best evidence of how fake this is. I know some of you want to believe that we just accidentally tripped into Donald Trump being president. He really is president. He has all this power. And yes, he's batshit crazy. But sometimes crazy, folks, is too fucking crazy. Sometimes it's way beyond the pale. I mean, you can use Hanlon's razor up to a point. But this is not sane for anybody. I mean, if you believe any of the narrative at all, it doesn't really help anybody, to include the state of Israel. unless they plan on, creating a new state of Israel someplace else, and maybe they do. A lot of people say it's the Ukraine, but then the Ukraine doesn't look so good right now. We're going to beat the fucking shit out of them. This is not something that you would say as the leader of the biggest empire in human history unless you believe that it didn't matter. And this doesn't apply to Trump specifically. He's just a column of smoke. In fact, this is good evidence of what I meant by that. He really is just a column of smoke. But whoever or whatever feeds him these lines, this is absurd. The only reason to have this type of rhetoric is because you know what other people think they might know, and that the game's over. Anyways, next topic. We're going to beat the shit out of you. We are, Mr. Scribbles. So another Marvel movie comes out around Christmas called Doomsday, and I just want to leave you with the question mark. Do you think we will live long enough to see Doomsday? I have a link to a video about the Super El Nino. It's from Just Have a Think on YouTube. Again, everybody's got an angle. He's coming from the climate change perspective. But I still think it's worth looking at. You might want to do that. That's up to you. Here's another quote from Dr. Freckles. I don't know. Love is a burning caterpillar. That sounds like bullshit, Dr. Freckles. Next topic. And here's another quote from Dr. Freckles. You can stop a problem with a gun, a la Idaho the other day. You can't solve one. What does that mean? Well, this is what I mean. The people that acted in Idaho the other day prevented a problem from getting worse, but they didn't really stop it. The young man, Chad, whatever, I call him a kid because I think he was 25, but the young man still killed some people and injured some people. So they did, in fact, stop a problem. But the real problem was what kind of led to that kid wanting to do this. And if you say, well, that's just random crazy, it could be. It seems like there's a lot more of it right now. And yeah, some of it could be on purpose. In fact, some of it could be related to gun collection. The folks who said, well, Trump would do this and Trump wouldn't do that, we were fed a lot of nonsense about the Trump administration. I never believed any of it, but a lot of you did. And because he's had all these really great takes on guns, to include suppressors, people are of the opinion he must be pro-gun. Folks, it could be a head fake. I mean, he's also pro-red flag laws. So anyways, the bottom line is you don't really solve problems with threats of force. You don't. You make problems worse. You create problems that weren't there. But you don't really solve a problem by going around and threatening people with death. The best way to solve a problem is cooperatively, using as your basis liberty. That's it. And, if it's a problem worth solving, you're going to get people to do it. Next topic. Here's another quote from Dr. Freckles. The kinks in your armor, the scars, the scratches, are the patina of courage. Yeah, I'll just leave that there. I don't care. You don't care, Dan. You don't care. I don't care, Mr. Monkey Man. Because here's another quote from Dr. Freckles. You don't get to have a fancy-ass empire without having a really messed up and fucked up collapse for dessert. And I kind of, elaborated on that a bit, but it's the bottom line, folks. Whatever we ate for breakfast and lunch during the first couple hundred years of this growing empire, and it really was an empire from the beginning. Not necessarily from the revolution, but certainly from the Constitutional Convention. Once we got an army, we started using it to do what empires do, and that is to get bigger. And then we came up with fancy terms like manifest destiny, the Monroe Doctrine, which is really just a way of saying everything we touch, we own. That's what empires say. Everything we touch, we own. But eventually empires die. They all do, every single one. And if you want to believe this one has hundreds of years left, you can. That's up to you. I don't think so. I don't think it has decades left. I think we are in the final months, maybe the final year or two, of the US dollar empire. And that's if we're lucky. If we're really, really lucky, if we're just splendidly lucky, we are simply looking at the biggest economic crack up in the last several hundred years. That's all. And it's going to be a mess. It's going to be such a mess, it could take a century to work its way through. And yeah, afterwards, there might be a renaissance of sorts, but until then, it's going to be chaos, war, real epidemics, probably, because things will break down. It'll be social, economical, technological. Does it mean technology won't progress? In some ways, it may go faster, but it's going to be about the chaos. You don't get to have a fancy empire, folks, for dinner without having a really messed up collapse for dessert. That's fine. That's fine. There's a hangover. Everybody knows this. And I do have a Mr. Scribbles t-shirt to memorialize Mr. Scribbles. I think Mr. Scribbles is the kind of person that talks to all of us. I mean, he really is. He went to war. He went to Vietnam. He really liked the spam. I mean, the spam. While he was in Nam. But his wife ended up having sex with Jody back home, who was a rock and roll roadie. Probably not even for a good band, probably for bread. A rock and roll roadie for bread. That's a pretty low situation, Rudy. And then you found yourself in that situation, and now what you gonna do, Rudy? You go crazy. And then Jody shoots you in the head. And then a demon gets inside of Rudy. And you stand up to fight back against all the bullshit. So there is a Mr. Scribbles t-shirt link. Whatever. I could barely do this podcast today. I could barely give a shit enough to do it. I am of the opinion that things are kind of well on their way to where they're going. It could be we're headed towards hyperstatism, maybe. As far as the Strait of Hormuz goes, it's your sinusoidal probability curve or not. I cannot tell you from day to day if the Strait of Hormuz is open or closed or even a place that actually exists. I don't know how it impacts your life. I know that the price of things you can afford, food, water, shelter, impact your life. And here's the good news. The good news is Seaflow has developed a multi-level system to rid yourself of that addiction. It is the hydration. It is the water apocalypse. You can free yourself from water and lose a crap ton of weight. Free yourself from water, Vernal. If Vernal, Utah could free itself from water, it wouldn't drink water, it wouldn't use water, it wouldn't shower with water, and it would be free of that addiction, that water addiction. Join the dehydrationists. Join the freedom lovers. Free yourself from hydration and understand the power of dehydration as the ultimate weight loss technique. And have a great rest of your Tuesday. I love you. I love you.